Welcome, everybody, to the Fraudcast. This is a weekly session that Vito and I host for folks in the e-commerce fraud and risk space, such as yourselves, to go over what y'all are seeing, what's happening in the world of e-commerce, what you guys are working through, challenges that you're experiencing, and things like that, things that you are dealing with in your queues, and things that you are curious about, things that are being talked about in the space that you would like to learn more about. This is a open space and a community for you to come to on a regular basis and get information, advice from other knowledgeable professionals such as yourselves. And yeah, so I think for the new folks, everybody here, please introduce yourselves in the chat. Even if you joined me before, I know you guys should probably just have that on the side. I bet you already do. Just like copy and paste every week. Thank you. I appreciate it. Please introduce yourself in the chat so that any of the new folks that are joining us, if we get a feel for who's in the room and it's not just a bunch of strangers, and you guys could connect with each other outside of the session, outside of this conversation. Feel free to do that. Like I mentioned, if you're able to be on camera with us, we love it. If not, that's totally fine. You can hang back and listen in like you would with a podcast or something like this, something like that. But these sessions are intended to be more of a conversation. So throughout, feel free to come off mute, post in the chat. Don't be afraid to interject, interrupt. We love it. I know sometimes it could be difficult when people are talking to maybe butt in, but we totally welcome it. So don't feel bad about it. If you want to, you could also just post in the chat. That's totally fine. You guys know all that. We do record these sessions so that we could share them with folks who are not able to join us during this time. So a heads up on that as you guys are talking and sharing maybe some of your experiences and things like that. And yeah, those are the big things. So welcome, especially if you're new here. We have a very exciting guest. I'm going to leave that for Vito. Leave Vito to introduce our guests for you guys today. I'm excited for the conversation. Before I hand things over to Vito, I do want to give a heads up. Many of you know this. If you guys are new, you don't. We've been doing this Fraudcast for about a year now. We're celebrating our Fraudcast anniversary this month. And we're super excited to be sharing this experience with you guys. It's genuinely my favorite meeting of the week. I love being here. I am not a fraud person. I'm just helping to establish this community and making sure that you guys are kind of, enjoying yourselves and getting what you need out of these sessions. But I learn a ton, and I hope that you guys, learn just as much as I do with each session. So we are celebrating our 1-year anniversary of the Fraudcast. And we would really like to send you guys a gift for being with us and a little token of our appreciation. The way that you can get your gift is by joining our Fraudcast community. We have a Slack channel. We have a lot of you guys already in there. So happy that a lot of you guys are already there and chatting and getting to know each other a little bit more, and also sharing your experiences and asking questions outside of these sessions. So it's been a really great space for that. If you have not joined already, please do. You could scan the QR code. I'm also going to drop the link in the chat. You'll fill out a form. I will invite you pretty much maybe during this session or immediately after to access the Slack channel. It is invite only, so you have to fill out that form. But once you're added to that community, I will be posting with a form for you to complete if you would like to get a little gift from Vito and I to celebrate our 1-year anniversary of the Fraudcast. And yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys. And I will hand things over to Vito.
What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. So good to see you. Look at this crew we've got here. We got Hollywood's Ben Lee in attendance. My man, Ben, how you doing, brother? You know what? To further hype that Slack channel, Ben's got a great story in there. One of the best stories I've ever seen in terms of taking the stuff that we've talked about here and stopping these criminal crooks when they try and do what they do worst. Best, whatever. Definitely check that out. We got Murph in the building. Murph, real quick, how's it going? how's the stand going?
November 25th. Come on out. Come on. We got
anyone on the island. We got to come out. We got Long Island's own Phil Spear in the building here too. So
Phil Spear, where you at?
Oceanside.
Oceanside, yes. Okay, we're not far. I'm in Bayshore, so Yeah, we'll have to get you out here for a couple rippers in a couple weeks. I'll send you the details.
I love it. I love
Amazing.
it. We don't just talk fraud here. We talk hot dogs. Okay. That's the name of the game. But today I'm so excited, probably even more excited than I usually am, because we have a super incredible guest, a good friend of mine. How do I hype this person up? I don't even need to do it. The title says it itself. It speaks for itself. Our guest today is the chairman. Anytime I talk the chairman, I think about Frank Sinatra. I think about George Steinbrenner, and I think about our guest today, my friend, your soon-to-be friend, the chairman of Anatta, the one and only Nirav Sheth. Nirav, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, Vito. I love the introduction.
Well, I'm glad. I mean, I went to school, 6 years of school for that one right there. So there you go. So Nirav, what brings you out here to the Frogcast? Because I don't even think that my introduction can do you justice in terms of what you're up to. When we spoke, you definitely got me excited about the future, which most people just get me worried and scared about the future. So how would you describe yourself to this crew right here?
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for joining everybody. And I'm really excited to be a part of this community and seeing all your welcoming faces and saying hi. So appreciate that. So what I'm excited most about and what we're up to at Anatta is just around seeing what is happening overall at commerce. Everybody's hyping this kind of omni-channel experiences. They're talking about where things are headed with AI, and there's so many new things. But if we look at like commerce brands as a whole, they're growing and expanding substantially. We're working with brands like Vuori out there, and we're working with brands like AG1 and so many others. And it's just really, really cool to see how commerce is still growing. There was this kind of era that people said D2C is dead. I just don't agree with it. I mean, we're seeing so many amazing brands continue to grow, whether it's on the D2C level or on the omni-channel level. And we're seeing that growth happen in these really amazing tech stacks and being able to do it with the right forms of digital transformation. So I owned a company called Anatta for 17 years. We're specifically in commerce. We do all of our work traditionally on a Shopify-based tech stack, but we've been helping build and grow really, really amazing companies. And what I love about working with those companies is just the founders that are there, but also the growth stories, all the things that they're looking to do and how they're really trying to do best by their customers. Whether it's through in-store experiences and making sure that they have a really, really great kind of event structure or something to really help with loyalty, as well as kind of making sure that fraud is being prevented, but also on the online experience and how is it all tied together. We're doing so much work across that full omni-channel experience. And we're loving that work right now because technology, when it's being backed with all the things we're seeing with AI, it's making things not only just super efficient, but it's actually making things really fun. So that's what I'm here for, Vito.
Well, I love it. When we're talking about this, my simple brain goes back to, I don't know, 5th or 6th grade when I hit a growth spurt. And that was kind of a scary time. I can imagine growth and like digital transformation is also kind of scary for some people, especially if we're talking about we're going to be doing things a little bit differently, or we're going to be changing the way that you do your job. When I hear those words, I start to, so can you walk us through what some of the, gut reactions that companies have from, your ICs all the way up to your execs about going from, I don't want to say 0 to 60, but let's just say a casual 55 to 80 where it's legal, like an Autobahn kind of situation. What have you seen there, and what kind of like works and doesn't work, and what kind of like freaks people out and gets them excited? I'd love to just kind of pick your brain on that.
Yeah, for sure, Vito. Any change, regardless of what it is always scary, right? When the narrative isn't there about why we're going about doing the change, what the change is about. And a lot of the change kind of when it's talked about from a top level is very, very, very much focused on around technology change. What technology are we moving to? Why? What's the comparison of it? And it's always done at this level of we don't know what we don't know. And so it freaks people out. And why are we doing these types of changes in the first place? Well, a lot of times that when we're part of brands and we're on brand side or we're working with brands, what we notice is that they're starting to hit a ceiling on their revenue and their growth side because there's just not enough technology enablement to be able to help them move forward to the next stages. So brands that are doing, let's say, 50 million and they kind of hit that $100 million mark. Great, but then they start hitting the ceiling because they can't either open up enough channels well enough, or when they try to open up the channels, there's not enough personalization and segmentation happening, or they're just finding themselves downstream. They're not able to do the inventory and fulfillment side of things, as well as like order management. And so all of these things become bottlenecks. And they don't see it coming. Normally it happens because they hit this growth part and they're like, okay, we're killing it. We're going to double again. We're going to double again. And then the year hits and they can't double again. So then they're like, okay, well, what do we do now? This is the part where digital transformation really comes in, is because brands see this opportunity saying, we want to be able to scale faster, but we're hitting this ceiling. What do we need to do to kind of be able to re-platform or do some transformations that enabled us to grow to the next stage? And when they do that, the biggest challenge, Vito, that I see across the board where everybody gets scared and everyone gets freaked out is because they say, what's going to happen to my job? What's going to happen to me? And how do I actually feel good about this transformation that's happening? And the best ways that I see it happen from an organizational level is that the narrative not only comes from the top down, but it gets experienced by the individuals. So instead of just talking about it and talking theoretically, showing demos, showcasing like how their jobs are going to change and showing like, hey, remember this screen that you dealt with where you had to do like 6 different inputs? Here's a screen where it's going to make it so much easier. It's 2 clicks and this is already done for you. So being able to show that in their day-to-day life about how things change, specifically in our ecosystem, we show people like, okay, coming from Commerce Cloud to Shopify, or coming from custom to Shopify, what does this look like, right? Or going from manual fraud management to your guys' fraud management, and seeing the differences, right? Of like, okay, holy crap, this is so much more intuitive, so much more easier, and I can actually do way more now because I now see the enablement. That's what it takes to really see forward a really thoughtful change. It comes from the business side. It comes from the narrative, and it comes from storytelling. If you don't do that storytelling well throughout the organization, you actually end up losing because everybody creates their own stories for themselves. And the story for themselves is generally coming out of fear.
When we talk about storytelling, you're looking at 36 people here who are really, they've been through it. And dare I say, I don't get paid by this person, but dare I say the Susi School of Communications kind of wrote the book on this kind of stuff right here. So if we think real quick, if we detour into that like lived experience deal, we've got folks here, Justin, I'm thinking about you too, who, started in ops, started in capital F fraud, and then found themselves working on logistics, found themselves working on inventory, because that's kind of what fraud is in many ways. You start to see that there's so many moving parts and nobody really wants to own this thing. And you're trying to level up, or you're just trying to like stop the bleeding. And now you're dealing with 3PL or something else. Have you seen in your experience in terms of transformation, we're talking like personal transformation here, have you seen individuals who are on that end of the spectrum, who are on the, talking to customers, trying to solve these like order by order problems? Have you seen them take on new roles in this future of e-com that really can drive change? Because so many of us have a gut feeling about like what should be happening that isn't happening. Do we have to just sit on that, or is that going to be like valuable in this new world?
I mean, in my eyes, it's going to be more valuable to be able to be in that position. Like when we have all these enablement tools and be able to do the job that we want to be able to do. So whether you're sitting in the seat on the CX side, whether you're sitting in the seat of fraud management, whether you're sitting in the seat of your core merchandiser and e-commerce coordinator, each one of these people have a lot of duties, a lot of things that allow like that they can be able to do in their position, but they're most of the time stuck because either there's not enough tech enablement, or they're not having access to the data or information to be able to make any changes. And so I really feel like in this space, the more we get tech enabled, the more we have access to the data information, the more we can leverage AI chat. So like with Shopify, we have this tool called Sidekick, which is really helpful. And I know that there's a lot of tools being created within each one of these ecosystems, but like you can just chat with it and say, hey, give me my like highest value customers, or in this scenario, give me my worst customers that I know that are committing some fraud, or we flagged them for fraud. Show me that to me. A lot of times you have to run those reports, go look it up. But if you can just chat and be able to see and organize and be able to talk about that, that would become really, really interesting. So what we're noticing is even in the in-store locations, like the more we can identify a user in store, the more we can be able to see, is this one of our most valued customers, or is this somebody that we need to kind of walk behind a little bit just to make sure that there's nothing bad being done? These are all things from an identification perspective that are now becoming enabled because we have a mobile app, that mobile app can then trigger a login, and that login can then show the brand, hey, this customer is in our door, without alerting them that, like, we're stalking them or we're tracking them. That's not the point. The point is more, how do we be a better service to our end customers? And I think with the data and tech enablement that we're seeing, we're able to better service our end customer, because as a brand and as any merchant, the focus is, how do we deliver the most value to our end customer?
Let's jump on that, because that's the thing that really grinds my gears. It's like, we have in store and we have online. And then a lot of times we have Renuka's here. Renuka, you know what I'm talking about. Someone's going to buy something online and then return it in store. And we want to give them that ability, or we want to give ourselves the ability to either upsell or stop something weird from happening, or maybe do both, and I just wrote a newsletter about Logan's Run. I don't know if anyone's seen that movie, but like, this is like 2030. They're 2,300, not 2030. My numbers are off. Like, super future stuff. And I think it's just so super futuristic, where like a POS system can show me some information about somebody who shows up. Is it really Jetsons style stuff, or is that something, sounds like it's something that's going on now? What does that look like? And how do we, in like a fraud community here, kind of slot into sharing that information and get something actionable for our people who are associates in store, to be able to drive that upsell, to be able to make sure that, the pair of pants that were returned here get logged correctly, so we know what's going on? If you could just clear that up in my mind and make me feel like I know exactly what's going on, that'd be awesome.
I don't think we're quite there yet at the Jetson stage or at the Logan's Run stage, but we're getting there, right? We're slowly starting to get to those places, because we're starting to find identity of the customer. And I think the best thing that from a retail store or being a clienteling is being able to identify who that customer is through any casual conversation and or action that you're taking. So whether it's somebody returning in store, or somebody just saying, hey, I've been a customer and I normally buy these pants, and being able to look them up and be like, hey, just can you share with me your name? And you can be able to see, okay, I can style you better, because now I've seen that you own these blue pair of jeans, and I think it's going to go really well with this kind of sweater that's out here, or this shirt here. And so if you're doing it in the place of value, then asking a consumer or prospect, hey, what's your name? Can I get a little bit more information about you? Doesn't feel weird. We see this clienteling happening on the jewelry stage probably the most, right? So I've been through some certain jewelry experiences, whether it's shopping for an engagement ring for my wife 10 plus years ago, or just being able to purchase something new, where they actually ask you a lot more information about you, so that they can start understanding what is your taste, what is your likes, what can we do to service you better. In a place, when I went shopping in a jewelry store in India, they actually gave me, figured out my food preferences. So anytime I came back, if I said I really like something, they actually had it ready for me. Think about that level of value and customer satisfaction you can get. Of course, in jewelry, you're selling a $10,000 piece, so you can buy somebody $50 lunch and be okay. But of course, and that's not everywhere and across all the retail places. But what could you be doing to be able to give value to that customer by asking them a certain set of questions and being able to identify them, and leveraging that identification to then be able to service them better? Whether it's on the opposite side with fraud and being like, hey, again, we need to really think about this customer and what we sell to them, or how we're doing that. Or on the positive side, hey, we see this really active customer and we just want to build community. We want to make sure that they feel heard and feel seen, right? Everybody wants to feel that way. So what could we be doing as retail associates, but also from a clienteling perspective, to really be able to help them through that journey? And I think that a lot of the technology we're getting is starting to give us those data points. And if we can surface those data points specifically on the handhelds that we're walking around with, right? Because in the new POSs, we have handhelds. We're not strictly behind the counter and only looking at things, but we're specifically having the handhelds to walk around with, using that as an advantage. Another way is, can we use both when someone's on their mobile app to scan something to let us know that they're in store? You can't just ask them to scan something for the sake of scanning it. You have to be scanning something to be able to give them something, right? So, hey, we've seen it at Vuori stores. We're giving away free green juices and free kind of things that fit on the apparel and the athleisure side of the world, right? So can you do certain things that help them identify, because they're going to get something in return or join a free class? And then now we know who they are. And then we're using that information to then be able to do additional work, value adds for them in the space.
This is awesome. And, when you're talking here, I'm thinking, yeah, maybe, and this from my armchair psychologist out there, maybe it's not so creepy anymore for somebody to ask you these questions. We're in a very curated world, right? We want suggestions from our inanimate objects. And frankly, anytime I ask my wife or anyone who's over the house, what do you want to eat? And they tell me anything, I kind of get a little miffed at that. Like, I want somebody to come with it. Well, I just demand that somebody like puts me in a direction. So maybe that's where we are now. And that's really cool. For everyone who's here, I'm sure that you have been working on, identifying your customers, you've built out identities, you've thought about these things before, or you've taken part in kind of sharing, profiling on people. So please feel free to jump into the conversation at any point. We all have thick skin here, and there's no such thing as an interruption in this family here. But Nirav, real quick, we're talking about technology. You got to talk to a lot of CTOs, and all of us in our cross-threading world, we are all finding new ways to bring donuts to the CTO to make sure that our little teams are, staffed and our budgets get approved and all that kind of fun stuff. But what are CTOs like excited and worried about in terms of this big picture thing? Because heck, friction is still a buzzword. And there's some leaders out there who think if I have somebody scan a QR code or have to, God forbid, enter their email address, I'm going to lose them forever. And then there's, in my opinion, the ones who are on the right side of history who are like, dude, that's no big deal. Like, it's actually better for us in the long run. So what are kind of like the pain points there / like the blue skies thinking? If you could just give us a little insight into the mind of a CTO and what they're really jazzed about / scared about, would love to hear that.
Yeah, I think, being seated in the CTO seat for a number of different brands, whether it was with AG1 or was at Rothy's or prior to that at WeWork, I've gotten to be in that seat for a pretty long time and still play that fractional role to a lot of different brands. And so I'll speak to what gets me excited, because I can only speak for myself, but I'll speak for the best for the community of other CTOs out there. What gets us excited is seeing these new technologies leveraging the AI tool set and giving us access to more data that we can then do something with. But that's on the flip side, it's also the most scary part too, because if we're sharing data back to another organization or group, then there's these holes that then we're all responsible for. So when technology gets suggested or tools get suggested and they don't have the right, whether it's enterprise layers of security or data privacy built into them, it freaks the hell out of most CTOs, because it's saying we're responsible for the liabilities, we're responsible for the risk. So we have to think about those things. But if we find the tool sets that have those things considered and are allowing us to do things, and specifically what we like are turnkey solutions on pointed solutions. We don't always love the whole give me the full gamut of everything. We like, if something does something really, really well and I can plug it in and make it work, and it requires the least amount of my team's time to help implement, we love it. It's like our most favorite thing, because we can say, how quickly can we get this in action, and how quickly can we see what type of results are we getting from it? So I would suggest that anytime you bring anything to a CTO, just make sure that it has like both the privacy, security concerns in mind, and kind of so that we don't have to ask those questions. But two, how quickly can we get this up and running and seeing results from? Because we want to test these tools out, and the tool works. We're going to invest so many dollars in like fully integrating it, but can we get a little bit of a light version or some capacity of a version that we can just get going? Because if somebody says it's going to take 90 to 180 days to implement to just start seeing something, we're all like, well, we got 25 other things or 2,000 other things on our list in many cases, and we just don't have the time and space to really give it.
A good friend of mine once said it's a lot like driving in a car with somebody who's doing 60 miles an hour, trying to convince them to do 70 miles an hour. But in order to get to 70, you got to bring the car into the shop for a few months. And it's like, dude, I'm good at 60, right? So yes, let's show some actionable stuff now. And I'm thinking this tool set sounds a lot to me like Shopify in a way. Now, I've heard people say, I'm kind of running on Windows 95 here, and I've kind of figured out Windows 95, and I'm a little like worried about the next thing. So if we're going to go to that next level, we're going to take on a tool set that has a lot of promises, right? There's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of fear from the folks you see here who are really working that tool day to day. So what are kind of are the fears really founded is really what I want to get at. And how could a fraud professional, let alone an e-com leader, feel a little more comfortable with jumping into that new world of tool sets that something like Shopify offers?
Yeah, I think the best way, Vito, is to actually start using it, because I think the worst thing you could ever do is talk theoretically. Anytime there's a digital transformation conversation or any tool set conversation, you're looking at marketing talk on one person's website versus marketing talk on another person's website, and then you're doing a comparison of it, right? You see these traditional RFPs that are like, hey, I want to know what this offers versus this offers. And then you get scared, or you get, annoyed by, it doesn't give me this feature. It doesn't say it gives me this. And then if you only look at the marketing talk and you don't actually use it and realize that sometimes the marketing talk is not what the actual end is in the product, you get upset. And I think the best way to get around any and all of that is to just start using the tool in some capacity, whether it's, leveraging what you guys provide and logging in and actually trying it out. Like, who cares? It's on a demo store. Just go click around and play with it. See what the actions are and see how it actually works and manifests itself in your day-to-day life. If you don't do that, you will find yourself scared and kind of annoyed and find yourself in this theoretical battle. And so we got to get rid of the theoretical and we got to go to true business cases. Stop looking at technology and reading up, this has APIs that do this, but this API has something else. Does that really matter to you? Does that matter to your day-to-day and what you do on a business level? No. So why don't we talk the business talk side of things is, what is this going to help me do? And does it allow me to do these things? And if the tool set or the company that's representing it can't actually show you how that can be done or walk you through the workflow, then you know to move on to find the next one and see, like, where can you see that workflow? But if you start talking in those cases, it really helps you identify the right technology set. And even in the ecosystem, Vito, that we're talking about with Shopify, the best thing and the easiest thing that they've made for you to do is just go install it, try it out, click a bunch of apps, install those apps. Some of those apps offer free trials. Put those in place, see what happens on them. And when you do that, you can actually get hands-on and be like, yeah, this solves my problem like so easily. I'm going to do this. Versus, again, talking about and looking at these marketing talks that, we never know what we're going to get.
Plus, I think a lot of people forget about the word co-development. Like, none of these apps are written in stone, right? Like, and if I don't care if you're at Joe's Crab Shack or the biggest player in the game, like, if you've got an interesting problem that you're trying to solve and that tool doesn't seem to do it, I think simply reaching out and being like, hey, I'm trying to do this thing. I feel like I've got it, but it's not really going. Can you help me out? I feel like that's like a really cool position to be in. I like that kind of stuff because, I don't know, maybe I'm just an outgoing kind of guy. It allows you to be like the test case for a white paper somewhere. But
Yeah.
I mean, am I just too optimistic? Like,
No, I think that's the way to go about doing that, Vito, is, in my opinion, which I've done a lot with a lot of the different products I've worked with, is I actually send a Loom video or just a quick video recording and say, like, look, this is what I'm trying to do. Here's my workflow, and I can't enable to make this happen. Can you fix this? Or can you address this? When you do it that way, it starts landing in like the actual engineers on the product side's like desks really fast. But if you send it as, this is just my request and it's ambiguous, then nobody works on it. Because if you think about the development workflow at these places, they go through a level of getting requirements in place, getting the actual use case written out. What are they trying to solve for? What's the design that we're working under? And then they start engineering it. If you know that, then that's there. Can you speed through that and just say, here's exactly the use case. Here's the video of what I'm trying to do. And can you just make this happen? People are like, oh yeah, they code a couple things that makes it happen. They deploy it and it's ready for your use. That's the way to kind of really enact change at product companies.
I love it. And it's such a pro tip, even if we're not talking to product companies, creating a video of the workflow, as Jamie says. I took a 300 level class at the CC School of Communications, and that was it. It was like, anytime I'm sharing things internally, I've learned in our little Instagram/TikTok, I'm kind of dating myself, world, it's a little bit better received if I'm putting a video out there versus anything else. I've asked a bunch of questions. I have more questions to ask, but I've got a lot of inquiring minds here who I think have questions of their own. If you've been working on getting your company to that next level, if you've had headaches around getting new tools implemented, if you've kind of hit a wall with talking to the e-com side of your business and you want some advice, you've got the chairman here. Okay. So I'm going to take a sip of water and I invite you to come off mute and ask your question. Cheers, y'all. And again, we do not mistake silence for antipathy out here. If you're thinking on it, that's okay too.
Go.
Jamie, we don't raise hands here. Come on.
Well, I was like looking at everyone else's mics to see. When you were talking, it made me think like I have the opposite problem. I come from the e-com world, and our parent company is the physical presence. And we are becoming one happy family over the last couple of years. And so I kind of have the opposite problem. I'm trying to pitch my e-com concerns to a physical location where, they still do handshake deals and cash on delivery, So I I'm having trouble trying to approach that in terms of, okay, and like Vito mentioned earlier, letting them return in store. We currently have all different processes. If you buy from our website, your return process is through our website, and it goes through that path. But we are looking into, that omni experience. So if anyone has any tips on sort of the reverse logistics of that, of like it was an e-com order and returning in store, or having some sort of experience at a physical location from your e-commerce order, I would love to get some feedback on that.
I'll jump in first, Jamie. I think that one of the things that I've done to convince both the C-level organization as well as like kind of the decision makers at a company to make a change like that, or to actually think about that, is like have them go through the experience themselves. Like have them buy something online and bring it into your store and see what it's kind of like the Jeff Bezos model, which is he calls customer service and say like one time it was recently done. He's like, how long does it take to respond to customer service? And they're like, oh, we've gotten it down to like 15 seconds. And he's like, okay, great. And then he hops on the phone and tries, and it's like 4 minutes. And he's like, that didn't work, did it? Like you guys told us at the board level meeting that it's 15 seconds and it took me 4 minutes. Like there has to be a change. So I think getting the actual stakeholders within your company to experience it, because when they see that friction and they see like, this is not easy, we need to solve for it, then like actual solutions can start coming in place. But I don't think that until we ourselves get to experience it, do we feel like it's a real problem. It kind of becomes fictional to them because they're just like, well, how many customers really go through that? Well, if even one customer goes through that and the experience sucks, they're not coming back. And that's the problem. And I think that's kind of where you're trying to identify is like, how do we actually solve for this? Because it's sometimes maybe not as high of a priority in their minds.
Yeah, it's very true. We actually, funny you mentioned that would be a good sort of test. We had one of our employees file a chargeback against us because their product arrived damaged. We're in the plumbing and home improvement industry, and their microwave arrived damaged. So they filed a dispute on us because no one would take care of them. They treated them like a customer and like, what are you doing? So it's kind of a funny story, but yeah, that would definitely be a good place to start. I think my troubles really start with just trying to communicate like the risks in, potential abuse for, buying online, returning, getting a refund. Maybe that associate's going to be like, oh, I could just give you cash. I don't know what they're going to do. They do weird stuff, So like, then we have a stolen credit card order returned in store and they get a different form of a refund or something. So I just have to think of all of these angles, and they're just, why would somebody do that? They just have no idea, so it's challenging.
Yeah. One of the things, Jamie, that we've seen a couple of our merchants do, which is whether it's a permanent solution or not, but if somebody's returning in store, if they can look it up, they do, but then they just give them credit on a gift card that's specifically for that brand. And then they put it on a print receipt and they said, here's your refund, but it's not going back to your credit card. It's not going to a new credit card. It's just a gift receipt right here that you can use while you're shopping here. So go ahead and like, go find whatever else you want and go ahead and take it so we can make it more of an exchange, but it's not kind of like refunded back because that can have that abuse. And so this one kind of prevents that. And so at least it's kind of an exchange in some capacity. It doesn't seem as a pure exchange, but the way it's done embodies an exchange.
Yeah, that's another good idea. We do have a store credit option, so that might be, something that we could explore. So yeah, thank you for the ideas. You got my almonds activated, as Vita likes to say.
Yes. And Jamie, thank you, because you jumped onto the hot seat, which in very many ways was a cool throne for you, as is always the case. I invite anyone else to come out and jump on the hot seat, which will be a cool throne for you as well. And Nirav, I want to shout out Justin here because I think that tactic of the credit in a form of a gift card was something that our own Justin Hicken talked about not very long ago. So a tip of the Dodgers cap to my friend here. Justin, well done. Anybody else, please? I know you're going through it. I know you've seen it.
I've got
Preston.
this is one thing that's kind of always frustrating because I deal mostly with chargebacks. I have an associate that does most of the order review, that whatever gets flagged, and to look at it and see that all these cases where they can have been resolved simply by customer service. They go to their bank because it's easier sometimes than it's like, oh, I didn't get my order. I just contact my bank. Where if they had just contacted our customer service department, we would have sent out a replacement. We would have reported it and sent out a replacement and we would have taken care of the customer immediately. But then they have to go ahead and get their bank involved. And now now we're going to be doing some stuff that's going to make your life very uncomfortable. Stuff like, oh, we're going to block your account. You can't order from us for a while, until you get this resolved. And so they have to kind of now jump through a whole bunch of hoops just to deal with the fact that they could have taken care of something where I've damaged. They could have contacted us. We would have fixed it. But contacting their bank just basically puts another layer of hassle between both the customer and the merchant. Because we want to take care of our customers. That's what we're in the business of doing. And then just making sure that the other thing that's fun, that's always a little frustrating, is when the customer service agents aren't thorough enough to actually give out the correct information. And so they'll say like, oh, you were refunded. And come to find out it was refunded to company credit rather than to their card. And so because they gave them the mention that the refund was sent, they go ahead and they say, I didn't get it, contact your bank. Stuff that is a little frustrating, but at the same time, it's like, letting the agent know that, yeah, if you see there's a refund, verify the amount, verify how it was refunded, verify all the details that the customer really needs to know to make sure that they actually got the refund the way that they expected it. If it was refunded as company credit, yeah, we can submit, the agent can submit an accounting request form and request to have that refund removed and sent out as actual credit to the card. If there was for some reason it wasn't done the way the customer originally expected. So it's like sometimes dealing with both sides, like the people who don't contact us to deal with it, and then when they do contact us, getting the wrong information because an agent wasn't thorough enough to actually give out the correct information.
Preston, you're getting at the crux of something. And Nirav, I want to hear what you think about this. I feel like the first thing on the chopping block when we talk about upscaling our tech tends to be customer support. You hear a lot about like AI-driven customer support and hear a lot about like, automating our customer support teams. But what Preston is revealing here, I think, is a need for more humanity, but at the same time, it needs to be humans who are thorough enough, right? This goes back to what Emma was talking about in our amazing recorded conversation about the fact that it's way too easy to file a chargeback and you got to make it a little easier to talk to customer support. Nirav, what do you think about this? And how do you address this problem with someone who's looking to upscale, especially when they start getting a little too excited about getting rid of the humans?
I think, Preston, you brought up some really good points. And I think one of the things you said was, Vito, you said like how easy it is to do a chargeback. That's our challenge that we deal with in this space, right? Like whether it's an Amazon Prime and a brand wants to ship and it's 3 or 4 days, but the brand can get it on Amazon in 2 or overnight, which one are they going to choose? They're going to choose Amazon every single time. And the same thing happens on our Amex cards. I can hit a chargeback button in 2 seconds and that gets me my money back versus having to call. So are we solving the right problem when we're talking about from a customer service perspective? Can we do the same thing? So if I called your brand, would it take me 5 minutes in conversations to get my money back? Or could I actually get it within a couple seconds? And the more you're making it more friction filled, the more that those chargebacks are going to occur. And the less you make it friction, like the less friction there is, the better it's going to be. And I think that, it's just a challenge in this space because all of these bank cards and stuff make it so easy to be able to access this, that you have to make your customer service so delightful and so easy that someone says, if I get on the phone with these guys or get into a chat, how nice are they going to be and how quickly are they going to respond to it? So some of the things, Vito, that you mentioned, and as we're talking through this, is like whether it's AI-based chat, the question becomes, are they getting to the answers that the consumer really wants? Because if they're not, and they're just going in circles, you're pissing them off. And so as much as some of these AI bots are helpful, sometimes it's also annoying them. And then they say, screw this, I'm hitting a chargeback, right? And so we have to be able to really be mindful about the level of customer service we provide and asking them, like, what is it that they're coming for? And if they're really like, I don't want this anymore, can I get a refund? We're doing the things to do that versus trying to like take somebody who's clearly upset and like is going for that and doing something else for them. Of course, we're trying to save every customer and we're preventing churn. That's part of customer service responsibilities. But part of it is also how do we meet them where they're at and making sure that we meet expectations and delight them. And sometimes that just requires saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, you're totally right. I've refunded your card. I looked you up. There you go. Because if you do that, 90% chance they're going to come back and buy from you as long as you have a good product in some other capacity. But when you don't give that level of convenience, that's what makes it more challenging. So I think, Preston, you're right on the money on the sense of it's a hard thing to deal with because of these providers, specifically even like I'm going to call out Amex because I use it. It's awesome. And on the consumer side to say, chargeback, I don't want to deal with this, give me my money. But it's also on the flip side for the brand makes it that much more difficult.
Even Yonder Bank of Amarillo makes it easy for me. So, it's just too good nowadays. This has been an amazing conversation. I don't think the room is big enough for us. You know what I'm saying? I think we might have to run this one back, Nirav, if you're game for it. But we're on Shopify. Yeah, Jenna, yes.
Oh, sorry. I just want to, Peter, did you have a question? I just saw you come off mute.
I was just going to say, so much of this also is focused on the internal customer. If we're taking care of our customer service people, where they have the right information that they can take care of our customer, like so many of these problems are taken, including churn of employees, including like, we could go on forever about this, but like, it's like if the tech is taking care of the people so they can do their job as a person, we don't need the AI. They've got the information and they can really take care of the customer that's bringing in the money.
Yeah, you're totally right, Peter. I'm in 100% alignment with you.
I don't know. It stuck out the entire time you were talking. It was like just constantly like, if we're taking care of our people, they can take care of the people that we're taking money from.
Peter, you just activated overtime here, and let's do it. All right. I've talked to all your bosses. We're cool to just hang out here for a little bit longer. Nirav, how do we do that? And is that part of like the future up training, upscaling, or at least making it more accessible for the knowledge base to be accessed by the people who need it most?
Yes, if you look at think about like the late Tony Hsieh, who wrote Delivering Happiness and really focused on being able to really ensure customer service was always at the top and that you're always doing things to delight customers. But in order to do that, like Peter said, we have to enable our customer service team to be able to do those things. And not only tech enablement, but also give them the capabilities to do what they feel is right for that consumer without us judging them or trying to quantify them to say, well, you didn't do X, Y, and Z. So therefore, it's all about customer satisfaction and customer happiness. And the only way we make them happy is by making our own team happy, like Peter said, around what we allow them to do and how we treat them as humans. And I think one of the ways that we've seen it, I'll give you a story on a company called, the company was Molecule, and my buddy was the VP of growth over there. And one of the things he did for his so he would look at customers that were of Molecule posting positive reviews about them in Amazon or somewhere else. He would look them up, find their name. He had a script that he would write. Now I'm sure AI will be able to you just give some prompts and it'll allow you to do it. they found the names of those people, looked them up in their database as a customer, and then he would send them like a $50 gift card just to like make like be like, hey, just thank you so much. Well, I don't know if it was $50, whatever budget he had, but he had a budget to like go do things. And he would just send that as a delightful gift to that person saying, thank you so much for supporting our product and being able to be that out there in that community. I think it's those little things that you can do to delight. And if you can enable your own team to be able to do those types of like, here's a budget of $200 that you can spend every week, or $100 you can spend every week. And what can you do with it to delight and make a consumer happy? It changes their space too, because they're like, oh, cool, I get to do something for someone who's been really nice to me when they got on the phone with me, versus a jerk that called me and that was like so mean, like I don't really want to help them out anyway. So like that's how we want to encourage it, right? And we really want to make sure that we're supporting our own team to make them feel enabled and capable of doing it, because of course they can, but we don't ever give them the full autonomy. And I think that that's what we need to be able to provide to them, is those autonomy, not just through the tech, but also through value or money or whatever else we can be able to have at their disposal.
Brilliant. Peter, what do you think about that? I also know everyone here with their fraud fighting caps on is kind of like, that's going to get abused. They're going to start giving it to their friends. But I love that. I love that. My fraud fighting cap is slightly off right now. Peter, what do you think about that?
It's absolutely. Sometimes sometimes you're fighting the wrong battle to save a couple bucks here and there, where, we deal in a very small community that I cannot lose a single customer. Like if I lose a customer, it is catastrophic. And any little thing that we can do to have that loyalty is absolutely critical. And it turns back almost instantaneously if we're paying attention. And enabling our people to pay attention to our customers is absolutely the key to the whole thing.
Yeah, and Jamie, I saw your comment on the thread around the sale. It's normally under sales, and sales cares about revenue. Have sales start paying attention to lifetime value, and let's see what happens on the LTV side of things. Because if we'll see the LTV bump, and sometimes you might not get the report, like the CS team members might not get the report for that. That's a place where we need to start driving some more reporting to be able to say what happened to the lifetime value of this consumer because we made them happy, and not just over a 30-day period, but let's look at a 90-day, 180-day period to see what happened, because that's a huge change versus just top line revenue. And most brands are looking at LTV, but we need to really look at that LTV value and churn rates and say what's happening because we've enabled these tools. And I guarantee they go down as a result of it. The churn goes down, the LTV goes up.
And that LTV reporting is made even easier if you join the 21st century and you don't hang out on Windows 95. So look, let's do this for another hour, and we'll be hanging out here. Just come on over to the ranch. 4701. I'm not going to give my address. This is going everywhere. That'll be a disaster. Nirav, thank you so much for, as we like to say here, truly activating our almonds. Before I let you go, I want to know, what is the one takeaway that you've got? If there's one thing that an e-com leader or even someone who's in the fraud fighting seat wants to remember from this episode, what would that be? And as a follow-up, what is your message of peace, love, and hope for everyone as we go into peak season of e-commerce?
I'll start with the latter one. Let's be patient and make sure we breathe through this, because this is a very, very stressful time. So just take your breaths, count the 4-second in, hold, exhale. So do your box breathing, but I think it'll really help. It helps me. It's crazy stressful times, and without that box breathing, we find ourselves crazy stressed out. So I'll say that for that part. In terms of what to take away from this, I think the main thing is just whenever we think about enablement or we think about transformations of any kind, really come at this from a business case instead of a technical side. When we start making business cases, it convinces everybody upstream, from the stakeholders to the CEO to everybody, about why something needs to happen. And so don't make a technical case to certain things, make business cases and look at solving things through change, and change by people versus change in technology. That's my big takeaways.
You've made my week amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. And thank you all for coming out and having great questions, great conversation. Last thing, Nirav, where can we find you? How can people blow up your inbox and pester you all the way? Because there's plenty more questions for you.
Yeah. So find me on LinkedIn. I think Vito will send out a link for that. So find me on LinkedIn. Feel free to message me. Be happy to befriend you and connect with you and be able to have those conversations, and reach out to our company. It's anatta.io. We're happy to service anybody and everybody. Where while we work on a lot of the mid-market and enterprise side, we're always happy to be of service. That's part of our ethos. We believe in integrity and care and joy. And so we're always here to help service anybody in the industry as they kind of evolve in their careers, but also what they need help with. So just reach out to us. We'll be happy to help you.
Amazing. Well, all of you, from the bottom of my heart, and maybe from Jenna's heart too, I would think, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us. Until we see you next week, I hope you have a blessed and beautiful rest of your week. Like Nirav says, do the box breathing, maybe a couple push-ups, maybe a nicotine pouch if that's the kind of thing you're into, is what I am. That's my zen. My zen is my zen. And until next week, have a great one. We'll see you on Slack. We'll see you in Spotify, Shopify, all the Fis. You're the best. Be good, y'all.